Welcome to the Simplify Your Life podcast. It's Coach Simona, and I'm glad you decided to tune in. Hey everyone! In today's podcast episode, we're going to talk about the differences between jealousy and envy. And I'm going to share with you 3 in-depth tips on how to overcome jealousy and envy. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Simona, certified life coach and author of the book 111 Ways to Simplify Your Life. I make weekly podcast episodes on personal development, so if that's something that you're interested in, make sure to subscribe. Now, before we get into my 3 in-depth tips on how to overcome jealousy and envy, I want to begin this podcast episode by explaining the difference between jealousy and envy. Generally speaking, jealousy is the emotion you feel when you fear that you may be replaced by someone else in your romantic relationship or friendship. When you feel jealous, you're perceiving someone or something as a threat to your relationship, and you feel like you can lose the person that you love. Jealousy can lead to possessiveness, obsessive thinking, and sometimes even irrational behavior in an attempt to maintain some form of control over the situation. Envy, on the other hand, is the emotion you feel when you want to have something that someone else has. You feel envious when you perceive that someone else is more successful, better looking, or smarter than you. Envy can lead to resentment and taking malicious action towards the person that we feel threatened by if we don't manage and regulate our emotions properly. Here are 2 quick examples to illustrate the difference between jealousy and envy. When you experience jealousy, you may assume that someone else is receiving the attention, love, or adoration that you want for yourself, which is provided by someone else. You may have thoughts like, she's spending too much time with her friends on the weekends, or he is always working late. When you experience envy, you may idealize another person by imagining that having a certain quality or material possession that they have would bring you happiness or fulfillment. When you're feeling envious, you perceive yourself as lacking something, a trait, skill, possession that will lead you to be admired. You may have thoughts like, she's not that pretty, I don't see why she's famous, or he's only successful because of his father's company. There is a lot of shame and stigma attached to jealousy and envy. In this podcast episode, I want to normalize these emotions and help you understand that, evolutionarily speaking, we've all experienced them at some point in our lives. The important thing is to not let them ruin our relationships and overall happiness and fulfillment in life. So, evolutionarily speaking, where do jealousy and envy come from? Researchers believe that there is an evolutionary component to jealousy and envy. Humans are born with the need to survive by being part of a tribe. When we're feeling jealous of someone, we perceive them as a threat to our survival, since we consider that someone close to us will be taken away or abandon us in favor of this other person. And when it comes to envy, we compare ourselves to others to see where we are in life in terms of resources and what we can do to increase our chances of surviving. Envy can actually teach us to look inside ourselves and discover what traits we need to develop and what goals we want to set for ourselves to live a better life. So instead of shaming ourselves for having these emotions and trying to suppress them by distracting ourselves with TV shows, social media, and junk food, we can perceive them as feedback. Our emotions are powerful ways to understand ourselves better and make adjustments to our beliefs and behaviors so that we can create a life we won't need an escape from. Now let's get into my first tip on how to overcome jealousy and envy. Discover the core reason for feeling jealous or envious. Now, before we can tackle any problem, it's important to understand why we're experiencing it in the first place. When we're dealing with jealousy or envy, that is a clear sign that we need to look inward for some answers. So I'm going to ask you a few questions to help you understand yourself better when it comes to the person you're jealous or envious of. Now, I advise you to write all of them down so it's easier for your brain to process them better. You can also come back to this later if you're on the go. Here are the 8 journaling questions I want you to ask yourself. 1. What traits, skills, or material possessions does this person have and you feel like you don't? 2. In what ways do you feel threatened or feel like you're not good enough? 3. What are you afraid is going to happen? For example, you will lose the person that you love, or you will beat yourself up because you feel like a failure. 4. What is this feeling of jealousy or envy showing you about yourself or your current relationship? 5. Do you feel like you're lacking in some quality that you would like to develop in yourself? 6. Are you experiencing jealousy because you want something more from your relationship that you're unable to obtain from that person? 7. Are you experiencing envy because you want something more for yourself and you feel like you're not living up to your potential? 8. What small step can you take today to start resolving this problem? For example, communicate the way you feel to your partner in a healthy, loving manner, or take action towards your goal instead of comparing yourself to others. Now, after answering all of these questions, you will gain some clarity on the reason why you're actually feeling jealous or envious. Okay, great, but what do we do with all of these insights now? Let's continue with tip number 2. Take a step back and regulate your emotions. Now that you know that jealousy and envy rarely have something to do with someone else, and most often than not have all to do with the way we perceive our own self-worth in comparison to someone else, it's time to assess the situation objectively and learn how to regulate our emotions. What does regulating our emotions mean? It means managing our emotions in a way that decreases their intensity and allows us to make decisions that will lead to better outcomes. In the example of feeling jealousy or envy, regulating these emotions means allowing ourselves to pause, take a few deep breaths, allow the bodily sensations to pass without believing the stories that are going through our minds, and take the time to choose what healthy course of action to take to resolve the problem. Let's start with jealousy. If you're feeling jealous of someone and you consider them a potential threat to your current relationship, ask yourself, do I have concrete proof that this person is trying to ruin my relationship? Or am I making up stories in my mind because I feel insecure? Now, after figuring out whether or not this person is really a threat, you can cool off the emotions before confronting your partner. Take a few deep breaths, tune into your body, and notice the sensations. See all the negative thoughts that are going through your mind without judging them. Notice the link between your thoughts and emotions. Then try to assess what behaviors you've chosen to engage in the past when it comes to feeling jealous. Did you get into a fight? Has this happened before with someone else? Do you notice a pattern? And the last step is to either reframe the way you perceive the situation by collecting evidence on the strength of the relationship and the trust you have for your partner, or by choosing a healthy approach to address the potential threat. If you're not sure how to express your feelings in a constructive and healthy manner, make sure to listen to episode 120 next. I will leave a link below. Now let's do the same exercise for envy. If you're feeling envious of someone, ask yourself the following question. What is the thing that I'm envious of trying to tell me about myself? For example, if you're envious of the way someone looks, that may be a sign that you're not very accepting of your appearance, and you need to work on developing self-love and self-compassion. Or if you're envious of someone's success or material possessions, that may be a sign that you need to work on setting bigger goals for yourself that will help you achieve financial freedom and the ability to afford these things. There is also a deeper way to look at it. If you feel like you're ready to let go of attachment to material things altogether, you can start the inner work to feel content with what you have and understand that you're good enough as you are. Listen to episode 126 next if you want to learn more on how to feel enough and stop comparing yourself to others. Now, before we move on to tip number 3, let's recap the process of observing your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. There is a great tool I use with my clients called the Automatic Thought Record tool that helps you track the link between your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. All you need to do is set aside 2 minutes per day and write them all down. And in time, you will start reframing your mindset and learn to regulate your emotions. I've made a free copy of it so that you can get instant access and start using it right away. If you want to download it, just click the first link in the description box below or simply visit bit.ly/thoughtrecordtool. My next tip is to be aware of the consequences of your actions. Now that we've learned the reason for feeling jealous or envious and how to regulate the intense emotions you're feeling, it's time to do a reality check. Is the action you're choosing to take going to benefit you or harm you in the long run? When you're feeling jealous, for example, you may rush to conclusions, start blaming your significant other for things that they didn't do, leave the relationship without even explaining what's happening, or going to full-on rage mode that leads to never-ending fights with your partner. These are all choices you can make. But I want you to pause for a second and ask yourself, is this going to benefit me or harm me in the long run? If you're choosing to react spontaneously without really having a plan, you're taking a huge risk of regretting that decision later. So what is the best course of action? Well, my personal recommendation is to truly take some time and not let the old stories going through your mind dictate the way you react. As always, I believe honesty is the best policy, but it's better to take some time and truly think about the way you're gonna approach this. Maybe you need to set some boundaries with your partner or work on improving your self-esteem. If you want to work on developing self-confidence, watch my video on this topic. Just click the link in the description box below or visit youtube.com/Coach Simona. And when it comes to envy, I want you to ask yourself the same question. Is the action I'm choosing to take going to benefit me or harm me in the long run? Let's say you're constantly comparing yourself to an influencer. You feel like you're obsessing over her, you want to be like her, etc. How is this going to impact your life in the long run? Are you going to feel better or worse about yourself? Can you choose to do something else instead? When we're envious of someone, we may go down a dark spiral that leads to self-rejection. We may be more focused on their life than our own. We may even prefer to watch what they're doing and somehow be more invested in their experiences and trips and possessions instead of working hard to create a life we won't need an escape from. So I want you to consider choosing a different route. If someone is truly triggering you, unfollow them, block them, do whatever it takes to protect your mental health. And if you want a long-term solution, make sure to listen to episode 115 on how to focus on yourself, not others. I also have a bonus tip for you. Awareness itself is curative. What do I mean by this? By being aware of your jealousy and envy, you're not going to fall into the trap of following every negative self-deprecating story that goes through your mind. You're going to simply observe the sensations in your body and let them go. You're going to become the silent observer, instead of the one that's always looking to create problems out of thin air, have the need to vent, ridicule, seek revenge, and live on a constant roller coaster of emotions. You're capable of so much more than that. Respect yourself enough to walk away from things and people that no longer serve you. And most importantly, respect yourself enough to notice that you're creating unnecessary drama. And you can stop doing that in a heartbeat, the moment you realize that you're already enough. You don't need another person's love, approval, or validation to feel good about yourself. You don't need to protect your relationship at all costs. If someone's gonna leave you, they're gonna do it anyway. So own your worth. And when it comes to envy, you don't need external possessions to feel good about yourself. All the money, fame, and success won't make you happier or more fulfilled. Happiness and true fulfillment always come from the inside. So focus on all the things that light you up from the inside, and jealousy and envy will become a thing of the past. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this episode helpful, please like it. And subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss out on my weekly podcast episodes. I'm sending you all my love, and I'll talk to you in the next one.